Michelle Ballantyne. To close the Conservatives, a generous 7 minutes, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. May I first refer the Chamber to my register of interests, as I am a business owner and employer. As we've heard from across the Chamber this afternoon, we are all committed to building a fairer Scotland for disabled people. With 1 million people in Scotland living with a disability or long-term limiting health condition, we need to harness that wealth of talent, experience and diversity. Gaining new skills, earning a wage, developing a career are not and should not be the prerogative of the physically and mentally fit and healthy. Barriers to employment, both perceived and real, need to be addressed so that Scotland's disabled population can participate in both the economy and their communities. I share the Minister's position that this will take an all-Scotland approach, and I welcome the creation of his new working group. Disability does come in many forms, and it is not always visible. However, we know that the ability to participate plays a major role in improving mental health, building social skills and helping disabled people stay active and well. These challenges are not new, or indeed unnoticed, but we all have a lot to learn. And like Rhoda Grant, as an employer, I know the benefits firsthand from working with and employing disabled people. I therefore welcome initiatives such as the recent Deaf Awareness Week, a fantastic multi-group campaign highlighting the challenges deaf people face. I also welcome the intent displayed by the Scottish Government in their Fairer Scotland Action Plan, and more recently at the Congress on Disability, Employment and Workplace. Alex Cole-Hamilton and Ruth Maguire mentioned the new word, employability, and the government's £1 million grant. These are promising steps in the right direction, and I look forward to reviewing the detailed action plan due for publication in the autumn, as well as examining the results of the consultation on disabled employment in the public sector. But I would echo the sentiments of Alex Rowley and other members that disabled people are strong partners in identifying the barriers and solutions for this plan. It must be a co-production. However, although the target of reducing disability employment gap by half is admirable, we have yet to see the time frame for this ambition. And Rhoda Grant rightly said she didn't want this Parliament to be having this same debate in 10 years' time. I therefore would urge the Scottish Government to follow the advice of Disability Agenda Scotland and aim for a realistic but ambitious target to close the employment gap. I can see you dying to get
Yeah, you look poised. We were looking at yeah, we both looked he was poised. Minister.
Waiting for the correct juncture,
right.
Presiding Officer. I take on board the point. Let me make very clear we will be supporting the Labour Amendment. I absolutely recognise the necessity for us to set realistic and meaningful targets. But in that regard, and without wanting to strike any form of discord, would you share with me regret that the UK Government has moved away from an explicit target of having the disability employment gap now to saying that they want to see 1 million more disabled people employed, which is not the same thing?
Michelle Ballantyne.
No, I think that is a decision for the UK Government, and having got 600,000 people into work in the last 5 years, there's been huge progress. I think for Scotland, you've actually said that you want to see this halved. So I'm asking, what is your time frame for that? You've made a statement, we're asking for a time frame. Deputy Presiding Officer, it is the year of the young people, and the Disability Agenda Scotland, an alliance of leading disability charities in Scotland, have highlighted young people as the group most affected by the disability employment gap. Research highlighted by the group identified that although half of disabled young people were in further education 9 months after leaving school, by the time they reach 26, they are 4 times more likely to be unemployed than their non-disabled peers, an unacceptable potential lifetime of unemployment. Skills Development Scotland advised that the percentage of disabled young people participating in education has fallen, pushing the education participation gap up to 7% between young people with and without disabilities. Jamie Halcrow-Johnson talked about the challenges of providing careers advice and support, particularly around those young people with learning difficulties, and asked the question, what can we do better to prepare these young people for employment? But even if a disabled young person obtains a degree, Papworth Trust figures reveal that graduate unemployment is 15.5% higher for disabled graduates. The Commission for Developing Scotland's Young Workforce have made some good inroads in this area, But more work must be done to make sure all our young people can get into employment, not just those without disabilities. No doubt we will be looking to see if the Scottish Government's youth employment strategy is successful in achieving its 10th key performance indicator, which is to increase the employment rate for young disabled people to the population average by 2021. So there you have, I suppose, an actual time limit for young people. As Gillian Martin highlighted, early intervention is key to ensuring disabled people can successfully enter the workforce. Of course, unemployment isn't an issue which just simply affects young people. It's prevalent across all age groups. But Oliver Mandel highlighted that in a small rural population, a very high price is being paid for ongoing stigma. Whilst Jeremy Balfour raised the important issue of ensuring that employers feel confident about employing disabled people and recognising that while we must need to support and encourage disabled young people, we also need to be realistic when giving them their options. Both Mr Mandel and Elaine Smith and others talked about the important role of the third sector plays in supporting people and providing employment for disabled people. And we need to take some of the weight off their shoulders. And I agree with others when they talked about how we need to look at how we support the public sector and the private sector to create more employment and be able to support people once they are employed. George Adam and others talked about the need to ensure that employment of disabled people is not tokenistic. And the issue of quotas came up. Now, I have no doubt that the issue of quotas will remain a point of debate, but the key thing is that it isn't tokenistic. In conclusion, Presiding Officer, Scotland still has some way to go in reducing the disability employment gap. Scottish Government figures show that there are just over 3.5% fewer disabled people in work now than when this current government came to power. Additionally, the unemployment rate for disabled people in Scotland is 3% higher than the rest of the UK. We've spoken several times about the fact that 600,000 disabled people across the UK have moved into employment since 2013, so something must be working. With the devolution of new welfare powers to this Parliament, including the ability to top up benefits, it will be absolutely clear now that Scotland and Scotland alone is responsible for its track record on cutting the disabled employment gap. My recent visits to the Royal Blind School...
We haven't got time, I'm afraid, and that was an awful long conclusion. You must conclude, please.
Sorry. That many disabled people are highly skilled, intelligent, charismatic. By not utilising their skills, we're making a mistake, and a foolish one at that.
Thank you very much. And